Before we begin, if you enjoy unexpected life stories, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps us bring even more gripping stories every day. Part 1. Dust, Debts, and a Promise. I walked onto Donnelly construction site with a tool belt that had more miles than money in it. Wyoming wind bit through my jacket and carried the dust that gets in your teeth and under your nails and somehow deeper into the places you don't talk about. My own contracting business had gone under the year before. Recession, a bad bid, and a partner who disappeared with a truck and our remaining cash. I'd spent months patching fences and pride, selling tools, paying creditors, learning which bills could wait and which ones brought men with clipboards. Name, the site supervisor asked without looking up. Daniel Morrison. Experience? 12 years. Residential, light commercial. Framing, steel, poured foundations, finishing, estimates. I can read a plan upside down in the dark. He finally looked at me. Sun-chapped face, eyes the color of steel rebar. You know who signs your check? If I'm lucky, you. He snorted. If you're lucky, Frank. Get your hands dirty, and maybe he'll learn your name. I didn't expect Frank Donnelly to be the one who noticed. But that first week, when a storm rolled over the ridge and turned the site to soup, crews started packing up. I stayed. Someone had to brace the temp walls. If the wind took them, we'd lose 3 weeks and half the budget. I drove steel stakes with numb hands until the sledge vibrated my bones into a song I'd hear in sleep. When I finally straightened up, I saw a heavy-shouldered man with gray in his beard standing at the edge of the mud, watching me like you watch a river you're not sure will flood. "You planning to die out there, kid?" he asked. "If it keeps the forms standing, maybe," I said. He grinned. "Irish stubborn. You measure twice. Always. Then you'll go places." He stuck out his hand. "Frank Donnelly." I shook it. "Daniel." That was the first promise. It wasn't in writing, but men like Frank used to have a code you could build a life on. I showed up early, left late, and learned the rhythms of his company. The crews were old school. Miguel Santos, who could plumb a wall by the sound of a level. Nora Nails Kincaid, who outswung every man on framing. And a crane operator named Dutch who talked to steel like it could hear him. I moved fast because hunger moves you. Within months, I was running a small crew, then a project. I built schedules like battle plans and tracked every hour. I started bringing in a tablet with a project management app, which made the older guys joke I was playing video games until they realized we were hitting deadlines to the day and beating overruns by thousands. Frank noticed again. He sent me to client meetings. He let me bid. He said, "You read people well, Danny. The ones with fancy watches want to feel in charge, so let them change the door hardware. The ones in boots want you to look them in the eye and tell them the truth. Do both." At home, Lisa would press a kiss to my temple when I came in smelling like concrete dust. "How long tonight? Just finish the bid." "You always just finish the bid," she'd say, smiling in a way that told me she wasn't mad, just keeping count. The first time Frank said the word partner, we were standing on a slab in winter light, breath like smoke. "You keep this up," he said, "and when the time's right, we'll make it official." "Sounds good," I said, like a man who doesn't want to scare a wild horse. I didn't know then how long when the time's right can be stretched, thinner and thinner, until it snaps. I only knew this. I was building something with my own 2 hands again, and it felt like a second chance. Part 2. Rise, Sacrifice, and the Return of the Prince. Word spread. We took on a mid-rise build downtown, steel, glass, the kind of project every contractor wants on a brochure. I implemented a full digital workflow, markups on tablets, RFIs tracked in real time, subs on board with clear scopes. Our change orders dropped. Our client satisfaction climbed. I learned how to speak architect, praise the lines, challenge the impossible, and how to speak inspector, which is mostly about respect and paperwork that's so perfect it bores them. Lisa would joke, "I'm married a carpenter, and I'm losing him to spreadsheets." "You married a builder," I said, kissing her hair. "I'm building us a life." By year 3, I had my own office, if you can call a partition corner with a view of a forklift and office. Frank would come in, lean against the door jamb, and say, "You ever think about running this place when I'm done?" "Every morning," I said. It wasn't a question. It was oxygen. We grew a lot. 30 employees. Trusted subs. The Donnelly name on projects that turn heads. We started winning against firms with deeper pockets because clients believed me when I said we'd deliver. That belief is a fragile bridge. It holds weight until the first crack. The crack's name was Tommy. Frank's son had always been a rumor. Summer appearances with sunglasses and a hangover, then gone by September. After college, he vanished to find himself, which, based on the Instagram I pretended not to see, involved yachts and borrowed suits. When he came back with an MBA, a crisp shirt, and a grip like a dead fish. "Uncle Danny," he said, clapping me on the shoulder like we'd grown up together. "I'm not your uncle," I said, smiling. He winked at Frank. "He's modest. We're going to modernize this place." The first meeting he led, he used words like synergy and vertical integration, and when I laid out a phase schedule for our next bid, he cut it in half with a red pen. "We'll promise speed," he said. "We'll win on price and win on time. And lose on quality, inspections, and sanity." I said, "This isn't a slide deck, Tommy. Weather doesn't care about your Gantt chart." Frank's face pinched in a way I ignored. "He's not wrong, Tommy." Tommy shrugged. "Dad, this is why construction is stuck in the past. We can outsource payroll, trim our subs, squeeze margins. Investors want velocity. Investors want their buildings to stand," I said. He smiled like a cat. "That too. I didn't know it then, but that smile would cost us more than any blown bid." Christmas party. Lights draped over sawhorses, cheap champagne, crew in their best shirts. I heard Frank, drunk on pride and maybe the champagne, telling a group of suits, "Tommy's the future. Fresh blood. The kid knows modern business." A longtime client, Adrian Voss, a developer who measured twice in his own way, said quietly, "Daniel's why I signed with you." Frank waved it off. "Danny's a good man. Reliable. But Tommy brings new energy. Reliable. If there's a word that can feel like a metal and a knife at once, it's that." Weeks later, Frank called an all-hands. He cleared his throat and read from a sheet that didn't shake. Effective immediately, Tommy Donnelly is president and CEO of Donnelly Construction. Daniel Morrison will oversee compliance, permits, and documentation. The silence was an animal. I could hear the HVAC. Tommy walked over, grin polished. "You can show me the ropes, right, Uncle Daniel?" I smiled back because my father taught me that a man chooses his anger or it chooses him. "I'll do what's best for the company." "See?" Frank said to no one and everyone. Team player. The day after the announcement, Tommy issued his first decree. Cheaper project management software. "It does 80% of what we need," he said. "It does 50% of what I use," I answered. "And the missing 30 is the part that saves us money." He blinked, then sent the email anyway. The next month, he promised an impossible timeline on a marquee build. Adrian Voss sat across the table, fingers steepled. "Daniel, can you stand behind that?" I opened my mouth. Tommy jumped in. "Absolutely. We're streamlining." Adrian glanced at me. I didn't nod. I didn't shake my head. I did nothing. And a developer like Adrian reads nothing as everything. "Put on hold," he said, standing, "until you can give me a schedule that respects gravity." That night, Lisa poured coffee into a mug with a chip I never fixed. "How long do you keep swallowing your tongue?" "As long as it takes to keep the roof on this place," I said. It sounded noble in my head. It sounded like fear out loud. Part 3, the unraveling. The first failure was small. A stair run done to metric by a sub who'd always done imperial. In the old days, someone would have caught it at pre-pour. With the new system, the clash detection log was a ghost town. We jackhammered and ate the cost. The second failure was louder. A riverside inspection that flagged structural changes Tommy had approved to save weight and accelerate install. The inspector, Harlan Pike, a man whose pen was sharper than any blade, raised an eyebrow at me after he tagged us. "You know better." "I do," I said. "Then why am I red tagging you?" "Ask the president." Harlan's mouth twitched. "I did. He told me it's innovative." The third failure didn't happen on site. It happened in people. Miguel came to my office with a resignation letter folded like an origami bird that might fly if he didn't hold it so tight. "I can't stand my name on this," he said. "We're being asked to cut corners they'll blame on us when they collapse." You're not wrong, I said, throat closing. Martinez offered me a supervisor role. Better pay, less betrayal. He looked sorry, like a man leaving a family he loves, not a job. I nodded because anything else would have been unprofessional, or worse, honest. By spring, the crews were whispering. Rebecca, our operations brain, stood in my doorway, arms crossed. Morale is a floor we forgot to spec. It won't hold this weight. You want out? I asked. She stared like I'd insulted her. I want leadership. Get in line, I said, immediately ashamed. The day I finally confronted Frank, I brought data. Missed deadlines. Cost overruns tied to Tommy's decisions. Client notes. Inspector comments. I didn't bring anger. I should have. Frank skimmed. You've grown cautious, Danny. That's not a crime, but it is a limitation. Tommy brings fresh energy. Frank, I said, voice steady the way you steady a ladder on uneven ground. Fresh energy without wisdom is arson. He flinched like the word hit. Then he straightened, stubborn as granite. He's my son, and I'm the man who bled for your company. He set the papers down. We're done here. We were, though it took me another week to admit it. When I placed my resignation letter on his desk, Tommy leaned in the doorway, smiling like a billboard. You're quitting over hurt feelings? You'll be back. You're a foreman who got lucky. I looked at him the way you look at a storm you've already built for. You're right, Tommy. I got lucky. I met men who taught me how to measure and build. And I remembered. I walked out. The air on the street felt colder than inside, but cleaner. I stood there, empty and full at once. Then my phone buzzed. Dinner, the text read. Unknown number. Then Voss. I smiled for the first time in months. Part 4, Morrison Construction. Adrian Voss didn't waste words. He chose the corner table, back to the wall, eyes on the door, a man who had lost money once and learned to watch for exits. I didn't hire Donnelly, he said, no menu in his hands. I hired you. I'm unemployed, I said. He tilted his head. You're unencumbered. I've been considering exactly one move that would prevent me from ever sitting across from Tommy again. Build vertically. My capital, your leadership. I take a minority stake. You keep control. Bonding? Equipment. Handled. Timeline. Now. I laughed. It's not charity. It's self-defense. He slid a packet across the table. I expect missteps. I don't expect lies. I don't tell lies, I said. He nodded like a priest granting absolution. Then let's build. We signed in 3 days. Rebecca texted me the next morning. Heard a rumor you're doing something stupid without me. I sent her the address of a rented office with walls the color of a cigarette. She came with a box of files and coffee strong enough to lift steel. Miguel walked in a day later, grinning. Brought 3 of my best. They're tired of balancing on rotten beams. We named it Morrison Construction, after my father, who taught me to square a corner and own a mistake. I sat with Adrian in the dusty office as the IT guy ran cable. We need a first project, I said. He smirked. You think I invited you to dinner without one? He handed me the plans for a mid-size office building with clean lines and enough complexity to prove we were for real. I want inspectors to smile. I want my investors to sleep. You'll snore, I said. He laughed, and for a moment I saw the man behind the checkbook. Tired, hopeful, tired again. We set up in 2 weeks. New PM stack, the good one. Templates I perfected over years. A culture memo typed at 2 a.m. We do it right the first time. If we don't, we own it. We build trust brick by brick. On day 1, I walked the site with Miguel. The sun rose over rebar like it wanted a promotion. It feels right, he said. It is. I answered and believed it. 3 scenes etched themselves into my bones that first month. 1. Inspector Harlan Pike stepped onto our site, eyes narrow. He looked around like a hawk. I handed him a packet. Calcs, specs, deviations log, photos. He flipped, nodded, flipped again. This is boring. Thank you, I said, and he almost smiled. 2. A young laborer named Jamal hit his thumb with a sledge and didn't swear. He blinked tears, shrugged, and kept working. I stopped him. You got a plan for yourself, Jamal? Work. Save. Don't screw up, he said. How about we add learn? You're shadowing Miguel tomorrow. He stared like I'd handed him a key to the big truck. Why? Because someone did it for me. 3. My phone vibrated with a call from an unknown number that wasn't unknown at all. Danny, Frank said, voice sandpapered. We're in trouble. Maybe you could come back. Help show Tommy. You didn't make a mistake, Frank, I said. You made a choice. Silence stretched. I thought loyalty meant blood, he said finally. It means taking care of the people who built with you, I said, and ended the call before I could become a man who offered a lifeline to the one who cut his. We poured the first slab on a Friday. The crew cheered when it set like glass. I brought donuts that were gone in 12 minutes. Rebecca rolled her eyes and added a line item for morale pastries. By month 2, we had 2 more projects in pre-con. By month 3, Adrian said, "You made me look like a genius." I shook my head. We just told the truth and then did it. Part 5, The Fall of Donnelly and the Enemies You Don't See. Donnelly construction didn't implode all at once. It sagged. Riverside failed twice, then 3 times. The downtown project, the one Tommy promised on fantasy timelines, stalled. Subs stopped returning calls. Crews left. I heard rumors of an emergency loan, of Frank sitting in the dark in his office while Tommy delivered pep talks to an empty room. Then came a different kind of rumor, the kind that smells like smoke. A rival developer, Kingsley and Sons, didn't like that Adrian and I were winning bids. Their chief estimator, a poker-faced man named Whitaker, had a gift for losing by $1 and making you feel grateful. He also had a gift for talking to inspectors in bars. One morning, we arrived to find our fence site disturbed. Nothing gone, just shifted. A pallet of rebar 3 feet out of place. The kind of thing you could write off as a mistake if you wanted to be naive. I don't do naive. I do cameras. We installed them that afternoon. The next week, a shadow climbed, cut, moved, disappeared. Rebecca pulled the footage and froze it on a face under a hoodie. Not Whitaker. Someone hired by someone who thought construction was still the Wild West. Police? She asked. Not yet, I said. First, we lock our gates, double, and we tell the crew if anything moves, they tell me before they tell their mothers. 2 days later, Inspector Harlan flagged a minor infraction that wasn't. The print had been swapped, an old version with the wrong stair detail. The approved set in our trailer was still approved. The one on Harlan's clipboard was not. He looked at me over the paper. You trying to run games? No, I said steady. Check the stamps. Check our log. Someone handed you a plan that belongs to a different week. He stared for a long time, then sighed. I hate when people think I'm stupid. He made calls. The red tag evaporated. That night, Adrian sat in my office, hands steepled like the first meeting. You think Kingsley? I think someone thinks I won't notice when they tilt the table. He nodded. You notice. I did. And I also noticed the call I finally got from Frank that broke something in me I thought had already been broken. Chapter 11, he said, voice shredded. I filed. 30 years, Danny. I'm sorry, I said, and meant it, even if the sorry couldn't build a bridge over what he'd burned. Tommy's gone, he said. He took a consulting job somewhere warm. He was never built for winter. I picture the kid I barely knew and the man I did. Entitled, eager, ignorant. I felt no victory, only the relief that comes with a truth finally visible from space. In the middle of all this, life kept insisting on being life. Lisa and I had dinner with friends who didn't ask about bids or bonding and laughed too loud at stories that weren't as funny as we made them. At midnight, on our porch, she leaned her head on my shoulder. You're lighter, she said. I put something down, I said. What? Trying to get adopted. She laughed, and it sounded like the first slab setting. Part 6, The Long Foundation. We finished Adrian's building ahead of schedule. The inspector signed off with a flourish. The ribbon cutting was boring, which is the highest compliment in our world. The newspaper sent a photographer who made me stand in a hard hat and pretend to point at a beam. I did it because sometimes you wear the hat, even when it itches. I could end the story there, on success, on clean lines, on a lesson told with neat edges. But construction is never that tidy. Buildings move. So do people. Kingsley didn't quit. They shifted to whisper campaigns. Morrison's too perfect. They're hiding something. I offered site tours. We let competitors counter bolts. They got bored and left. Jamal, quiet, stubborn Jamal, screwed up and didn't hide it. A load calculation he ran was off by a factor you could wave away if you didn't like math. He brought it to Miguel, who brought it to me, who brought it to the architect. We fixed it before it cost a dime. I almost didn't say anything, Jamal admitted after. Then you'd be the guy who almost ruined a project and kept his mouth shut, I said. You're not that guy. He squared his shoulders in a way that made me think he wouldn't be for a long time. Rebecca negotiated a pre-con that made me want to frame the fee schedule. You should teach a class, I told her. I am, she said, and pointed to the younger PM she'd been mentoring. Adrian started sleeping. If his texts at 4 a.m. were any indication. You gave me back my nights, he wrote once. I saved that message for days when the wind blew too hard and the forms creaked. One evening, when the sun cast gold bars across the skeleton of another building we were raising, Frank walked onto our site. He looked diminished, an oak struck by lightning. He asked if we could talk. We sat on the tailgate of my truck like men who'd figured out you can tell the truth better without a conference room table between you. Loyalty, he said, staring at the dirt, isn't what I thought. It never is. I thought it meant blood. He shook his head. It means showing up for the people who show up for you. It means telling the truth, even when it costs, I said. He nodded. I'm sorry, Danny. I know. Do you forgive me? I looked at the frame rising behind him. The beams true, the bolts tight. I thought about younger me, swinging a sledge in the rain to save a wall. I thought about Tommy's smug grin and my own fearful silence, about the sound of my resignation letter hitting wood, about Adrian's unblinking offer, about Lisa's patient eyes. Yeah, I said. I do. I'm done carrying it. He swallowed, nodded again, stood. He looked like a man who'd been given parole from a sentence he'd written himself. He left without asking for a job, or a partnership, or anything but the chance to stand there for a minute and breathe the air of a site done right. When the building topped out, we hung a small evergreen on the highest beam, as tradition demands, and everyone cheered. I said a few words I don't remember and a few that I do. No shortcuts. No lies. Measure twice. Cut once. If we mess up, we fix it. If we say it, we do it. This is our name on steel. That night, on the porch, Lisa put her head on my shoulder again. You got what you wanted, she said. What was that? I asked. To build a thing you can stand inside of and know it won't fall. I looked at the city skyline. Our lines among them now, clean and honest. I felt the quiet certainty in my bones, the kind that doesn't need applause. There was no revenge left in it. No bitterness. Just a foundation. Most people think the hardest part of building is the wait. It isn't. It's the waiting, the patience to do it right, to hold your line when others cut theirs, to trust that integrity pays out slower but pays out forever. I used to think success was a title on a door someone else could lock. Now I know it's the slab under your feet that nobody can take. My name is Daniel Morrison. I built a man's empire for him once, and he traded me for a son who knew spreadsheets better than concrete. I lost a job. I gained a life. If you're listening to this because someone pushed you aside, hear me. You can start again. You can pour a new foundation. You can build a name that isn't borrowed. You can choose the long way, the honest way, the way that doesn't collapse when the wind picks up. Measure twice. Cut once. Tell the truth. And when you're ready, raise the beam. We'll be here to help you set it. Thank you for watching. If this story kept you listening until the end, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. It really helps us grow. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What did you feel while listening to this story? Share your impressions in the comments below. I read every one of them. And if you want more stories of revenge, betrayal, and unexpected twists, check out the related videos on this channel. You won't want to miss them.